shit gonna have me, man, on the speech, man. Understand, I break it down right quick,
don't forget it. One West in my brain, one West in my heart, one West when I finish, one West when I start. Big shine, big glow. I be gone till November, let my bitch know. I'm back by the winter, bubbling like Crisco. I need my pockets all swollen like a lymph node. Talking out the side of your neck, get you a slit throat. I stay broke, don't care if I got $1 million. Looking down on me, I put your brains on the ceiling. Fuck kicking down the door, we bout to demo the building. Fake cats all in these groups, I wonder who ya. Shoot ya off your pulpit, hallelujah. 4-pound gun youngin' down like it's a cougar. On my feet, combat boots, or is it Puma? Words spreading around about me, none of it rumor. All truth, very big facts, very large caliber on very small gaps. Compact pistols, ladders, and all that. About to throw the switch in the Nina for rapid fire. Got the 5.7 equipped with the magnifier. Boom shakalaka equipped with the rim rocker. We ain't really got beef, yeah, Ramak would have been shot ya. The best rhymer since Pac and Big Papa. Big llama, big juice, I'm Big Jamba. Quarter tank of gas, I ride like a big timer. No informer, no sweat, not in China. My conglomerate wreck like King Konga. No Asian pun me, no chink in armor. Remain calm throughout pain that bring drama. Stay focused on things that bring commas. Took all pressure, applied and made diamonds. Stayed true, kept shit pure, my name honored. Paid all dues and debts and kept promise. Make sure you show respect, pay homage. I'm one West bred, one West vetted, one West pumping through my blood, don't forget it. One West in my brain, one West in my heart, one West when I'm finished, one West when I start. I said I've been one West bred, one West vetted, one West pumping through my blood, don't forget it. One West in my brain, one West in my heart, one West when I'm finished, one West when I start. I'm the hottest on the market, don't make me start it. I'ma pull up in a Spider-Man and Peter Parker. I remember days was trapping out the apartment. Now one West about put me up in a starship. About to fly the friendly skies in this bitch. Spit the truth on the corners, I lie a little bit. I'm a stand-up nigga, I die before I switch. Down, no we up, I'm cool with who I with. I'ma be war the king and stay dangerous. Hold down the biz and fam, remain blameless. Now rappers drippy with styles we made famous. First with studs and spikes in any city. Designers charge a stack for shit that can't fit me. Had friends on my coattail way before Jimmy. Funny how the general ain't even see a penny. Better show respect, get smoked like a chimney. Keep my name out your mouth, don't even think it. Send a real Smith at y'all, no Jada Pinkett. Both ball heads, my grain a $1.50. Lost my man to the game, that pain that stuck with me. Had to find a cheat code to the street though, cause them niggas getting fouled, shoot you like a free throw. Keep spitting acid like a Mino, and the nigga be the nicest with a mean flow. Try to ride my wave, you gon' need a speedboat. I'm hot like 100 degrees in a peacoat. Scarf in the sweater, I embark every letter. It's UPK, not a part, but together. Homie, I've been one West bred, one West vetted, one West pumping through my blood, don't forget it. One West in my brain, one West in my heart, one West when I'm finished, one West when I start. One West bred, one West vetted, one West pumping through my blood, don't forget it. One West in my brain, one West in my heart, one West when I'm finished, one West.
Shalom, it's that time again, Israel. Shalom, it's that time again, Israel. It's the Lord's 54th annual Passover in North Carolina.
Y'all know what we do. Y'all know what we came to do. Huh?
The ISUPK, under Commander General Yohana, will be hosting the Lord's 54th annual Passover in Raleigh, North Carolina at the Downtown Convention Center. This is something that you do not want to miss. Make sure that y'all bring the entire family. The Downtown Raleigh Convention Center.
All my niggas go to ground, we go to ground. You dealing with the
for blacks, Hispanic, and Native Indians. Go to isupk.com to purchase your tickets today. $200 per every adult over the age of 17 years old.
We are not the same. No, we not related. I'm not stuck on living. Death is a vacation. My camp undefeated. You cannot debate it. You just want the clout.
The
We just want the
Lord's
grade.
54th annual Passover, April the 1st, is coming down to Raleigh, North Carolina. That's right. Commander General Yohana has done it again. You don't want to miss this. Pull yourself! Pull yourself!
Shalom Israel, we the ISUPK, start out of 1 West, 125th Street, heart of New York, under commanding General Yohana. The ISUPK is not affiliated with any other Hebrew Israelite groups, none, nada, zero, zilch. I'm also Naquam of the Nashville School, Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shabarakatham to my brothers, Yahweh Shamar Alatan Bahashem, Yahweh Shai to my sisters, and we got a good class today. We're going to be talking about today, we're going to be talking about the diaspora, you know, what is known as the diaspora that everybody knows of, you know, and we're going to talk about it, how it's right there inside of the Bible. Our history, when the Most High brought the children of Israel out of Egypt, right? And he brought us out of Egypt, and he also brought us you know, and he gave us rules, he gave us laws, statutes, and commandments that we shall follow when he brought us out of Egypt, all right? When he destroyed, you know, the Egyptians and, you know, caused them to let us, you know, be a free people. You do what I'm saying? So the Lord done things to the Egyptians to where, you know, they had no choice but to let us go, all right? And the Lord, for him doing that, you know, we got into a covenant with him. All right, the children of Israel, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, who they are called today. All right, they got into a covenant with the Most High God, the God of Israel. All right, and in that covenant, there was rules, there was laws, statutes, and commandments, and the Lord told us that we shall follow his laws, statutes, and commandments. And if we did not follow his laws, statutes, and commandments, then there will be consequences. All right. So this class is going to be contrary to your Christian church, who teaches you that you can do whatever you want to do, and God is going to love you regardless of whatever you do to him, against him, you know, and against his people, that you can still, you know, he was going to love you regardless. All right. This is going to be a class that's against that. All right. And we're going to show you inside of the scriptures how that is so far from the truth is ridiculous. All right. And that's what this class is going to be about, the diaspora. All right. Us leaving our homeland to go to another place. All right. This wasn't a, you know, just us leaving and just going, you know, on our free will. This was actually a prophecy that the Most High was going to kick us out of our land. All right. So this wasn't, you know, free will. It was, he kicked us out the way he kicked Adam out of the garden. Well, he kicked the children of Israel out of Israel. All right. And, you know, he scattered us amongst the heathen all around the world, you know. So when you read inside of the scriptures, right, and I'm not going to make this a class about the Gentiles or a class about, you know, sojourners or something like that. But when you read that is the Israelites that have been scattered abroad. And we're going to go into that also. All right, just a little tab, you know, a tad bit inside of that, you know, how the children of Israel are those Gentiles that are what you would call Gentiles that, you know, that Paul went to, and some other Israelites, you know, who were following Christ. They also went to those Gentiles. All right, but we're going to I'm gonna start out by next Friday, right? I think it's like 9 days from today. We have the Lord's Passover. Get the Lord's Passover hand. Next Saturday. Is it Saturday? It's the Saturday. It's the first. All right. So next Saturday will be the Lord's Passover for brothers who and sisters who want to keep the Lord's high holy day. You know, Christ kept the Passover. And there are many people. You know, all the disciples kept the Passover. You know, everybody had something to do with following the Most High God. They all kept the Passover. All right. You don't keep the Passover because you don't follow the Most High God of Israel. All right, but we keep the Passover, and we teach other brothers and sisters how to keep the Passover. It's an excellent day. It's a whole week they got set up. So it's a week, you know, all that week is going to be something going on all that week. You know, they're going to be, Commander General Hunter has bought out the convention center and, you know, all, in Raleigh, North Carolina. And all, you know, he got a lot of stuff going on, man. We got, you know, they're going to see plantations and, you know what I'm saying, a lot of history we're going to be seeing. And it's just a lot of different things that we're going to be doing. You know, the kids got some big event they got going on. You know, it's all kind of events and stuff going on for the Passover week. And it's going to be an exciting time. For any brothers and sisters who want to come to the Passover, you are welcome. Long as you are Black, Hispanic, and Native American, you can come to the Passover. You know, and you'll see how much brotherhood and sisterhood is inside of the UPK and why so many people talk about it so much. You know, that's the first thing that they talk about is y'all brotherhood, y'all camaraderie that you all have. You know, it's something that to be, you know, spoke about. So we're going to be having that going on next week, you know, and the day after that will be the Feast of Unleavened Bread. That is also a big day. Get a Feast of Unleavened Bread ahead. That's a big day also. You know, that's the day that we actually, you know, was left out of Egypt. You know what I'm saying? We ate first and then we left. You know what I'm saying? That's what happened. All right. So we're going to be talking, you know, it's a day to be celebrated. And the Feast of Unleavened Bread, it's a whole week. So it lasts a whole week. And you must eat unleavened bread every single day. If you have unleavened bread in your houses, you have to get rid of the unleavened bread inside of your dwellings, as the scriptures say. And then, you know, for a whole week, you must eat unleavened bread. So that just means that, you know, some time of the day, you must eat some unleavened bread. You cannot go a day without eating unleavened bread, whether it be a taco or, you know, the sisters are so cold and creative, man, with they cooking that, you know, they make it real simple to do, you know, with the pies and the cakes and all this stuff that they make that's unleavened, you know, and it's just real good, man, you know. So that's what we're going to be doing next week. All right. But we're going to get in the scripture. This is the Nashville Law class. If any brothers and sisters, y'all have any questions, you can type them in the chat. And we'll answer all your questions in the chat, and you know, we can get into that if need be. All right, and if not, y'all got any questions inside the room? Are there any questions in the room? All right. So if there's no questions, we're gonna get into it. A lot of people, you know, when we talking about the diaspora, right? When we talking about us leaving and going to, going to serve our enemies. A lot of people like to go to the book of Deuteronomy. That's, you know, you hear that a lot when it comes to Israelites. They talk about the Deuteronomy chapter 28 chapter, you know, and it starts to talk, and especially the 64th verse is to tell us that, you know, when we're trying to explain to people how black people are the Israelites, a lot of people, you know, we go, the simplest way to do it is just to go to Deuteronomy 28. I like to go to Leviticus. I always go to Leviticus first. You know, that's my go-to. You know, Deuteronomy, of course, I can break down Deuteronomy too. But when I'm talking about us being scattered abroad, I always like to go to the book of Leviticus. All right, because that tells us, you know, early on what was going to happen to the children of Israel if we did not follow the law, statutes, and commandments of God. All right, and that, you know, when we're wondering why we are over here in North America, away from Israel, and how we got over here. Well, Deuteronomy and the book of Leviticus tells us how we got over here. All right, and we're gonna start off. I'm gonna start off in the book of Leviticus. Leviticus, the 26th chapter. Hold on, let me see. Yeah, I think it's Leviticus 26. Let's go there. Salaka. Yeah, let's go to Leviticus, the 26th chapter. I'm going to start off at verse 1, all right, just for context. All right, if anybody, Aquafina, you there? All right, so Leviticus, the 26th chapter, right? It says, this is the Most High talking to the children of Israel. It says, ye shall make no idols, nor graven image, neither rear up a standing image, neither shall ye set up any image of stone in your land to bow down unto it, for I am the Lord your God. So when you ask yourself, what happened? How do we separate ourselves from the Most High? How do we go so wrong when it came to us being, the chosen people of God? Well, the very first rule and very first law that the Lord gave us was for us to not serve any other gods. All right, that was the very first law. So everything that comes after that, it talks about, it equates to us serving other gods. All right, so if he tells us from the jump, don't serve other gods, and, just to follow me and follow my commandments, then every time you don't follow his commandments, that means in his mind that you are following another God. All right, so this is how, he always breaks it down to us. When we look back and wonder what happened, what the hell happened, and how we got scattered, from here to there to everywhere and kicked out of the land of Egypt. Well, it always goes back to us serving other gods. All right, and you wonder how. So if the Lord kicked us out for serving other gods, how do we get back in the good graces of the Most High? If anybody online know, you can answer that question. If he kicked us out for serving other gods and was mad and punished us and threw us all around the world, for serving other gods, how do we get back in his good graces? Go ahead, sister.
You don't serve other gods.
By doing what?
By serving him.
By serving him. Give yourself a hand. It's not complicated, people. When you wondering why we telling you to come back to our God and to keep the law, statutes, and commandments, well, he kicked us out and got rid of us because we were not keeping his law, statutes, and commandments. That's why, it's like if you making, if your parents told you to clean up your room and you were like, I ain't cleaning up my room, they're like, okay, well, I'm finna take your TV and your PlayStation or Xbox and all this stuff, because you didn't clean up your room. Well, if you want your PlayStation and Xbox back, what do you have to do? You have to clean up your room. You know what I'm saying? You have to do what they told you to do. This is how you get things, you get back in the good graces of any parent. And it's the exact same way when it comes to the Most High. All right, we have to get back in the good graces with him by doing what he told us to do that we were not doing. All right? You don't get back in the good graces by doing what the hell you want to do. This is, it's ludicrous to even think so. When the pastor telling you, you don't have to keep the law, and God is going to love you. Well, how is he going to love me when he hate me for not keeping his law? He punishes me for not keeping his law. He punishes me for serving other gods. He punishes me for having, idols that I'm sitting in front of crying, and on my knees crying as an altar unto him. He punishing me, he punishing us for, all these Virgin Marys that you sitting around crying upon, with the rosary beads and stuff. He telling us not to do that. And if we do that, then it will be consequences. So, How is all of a sudden the Lord, they done changed it to where they said that you can do these things and God is going to love you for doing the thing that he told you not to do. It makes absolutely no sense. And anybody with any kind of sense have to ask themselves, okay, so why in the scriptures he tell us don't do this, but we doing it? And you telling us that it's cool that we do it. Somebody need to be asking these tough questions to your pastor, or your priest, whoever it is that you listen to. Somebody need to ask these questions to make them sweat. Because they're going to sweat when it comes to asking questions that are right there in the scriptures telling you not to do. He said, man, ye shall make no idols or graven images, no real upper standing image, neither set any image of stone in your land, and bow down to it. I am the Lord your God. For you, and this go also that stone he telling you don't do. This go for you Muslim brother. You black Muslims. This go for you. When you sitting around crying and walking around a damn rock 7 times, and bowing down to the rock, what I'm saying, 7, all day long. Well, he's talking about you too. All right? All you Muslims out there, he's talking to you. He said, you shall keep my Sabbath. All right? And reverence my sanctuary. I am the Lord. He said, if you walk in my statutes and keep my commandments and do them, then I will give you rain in due season, and the land shall yield its increase, and the trees and the fish. So he's telling you all the things are going to be good for you, and he's going to be in the good graces. You're going to be in the good graces of the Most High when you follow his commandments and keep his Sabbaths. This is what he's telling you. So if that's the case, then if I'm not keeping his Sabbath, if I'm, my Sabbath is not, the end of the week, it's the beginning of the week, well, I'm serving another God. I'm doing something that I should not be doing. And the Lord is not going to love me and not going to make it rain, cause, things to grow in my life if I'm doing something contrary to what he told me to do. I'm gonna drop down to verse 14. I told you I like to teach the Leviticus, because Leviticus it gives in my opinion, it gives a better breakdown of what the Most High, the reason why we are going through what we're going through. In my opinion, it gives a better breakdown than Deuteronomy 28. All right, so I like to use Deuteronomy. I like to use Leviticus. All right, it said, but if ye will not hearken, Leviticus 14, 26 and 14. But if ye will not hearken unto me, and will not do all these commandments, he said, and if ye despise my statutes, or if your soul abhors my judgment, that's for all you brothers and sisters who will argue us up and down not to keep the laws of God. You abhor his judgments. When you argue us up and down not to keep his law, and that, God, you can do whatever you want to do, this is you who he's talking to. The ones who despise his statutes. The ones who abhor his judgments. The one who don't want to do anything that the Lord say do inside of these scriptures or inside of the covenant. All right? So that ye would not do all my commandments and that you break my covenant. So when he's telling you that you're breaking his covenant by not keeping his commandments, by not keeping his Sabbath, by abhorring his judgments, and hating his statutes. You are breaking the covenant by doing these things. Because you're not doing the what the covenant is telling you to do. How are you in the covenant of God when you can't keep all of the things that are required of you inside of the covenant? The covenant is a contract. So within the contract, there's, requirements that you have to meet inside of this contract in order to, have the reap the benefits of the contract. All right. So if you're not following the judgments and the statutes and the commandments that are inside of this contract, then you will not reap the benefits of the contract. You're actually annulling the contract. He said, and you should despise my statutes, or if you abhor my judgments, so that you would not do all my commandments, but break my covenant, I will also do this unto you. I will even appoint over you terror, consumption, and burning ague, and shall consume their eyes and cause sorrow of heart. And ye shall sow your seed in vain, and the enemy shall eat it. So everything that you do, the enemies are going to, reap the benefits of the heart of the work that you do. And the children that you bear, the enemy is going to, eat them alive. You dig what I'm saying? He's going to cause them to suffer, and their kids are going to suffer, and the kids behind them is going to suffer, and it's just going to be, over and over and over again, our children are going to suffer because we don't keep the commandments. And the children are suffering because we're not teaching them the commandments. So guess what? They're not going to teach their kids the commandments. And guess what? Their kids ain't going to teach their kids the commandments. So it's going to keep on going on and on and on. We're going to keep following. And that's why, bad things have been happening to us for hundreds of years, because we haven't been keeping the commandments. We've been told that the law is done away with. Don't keep God's law. And it's been a detriment to our community. Because now we have no moral compass on what to do. The Christian church just tell you, to kiss the oppressor's butt and we'll make it. And that's, and as long as we are second or third class citizen, we'll be all right. He said, verse 17, he said, I will set my face against you, and ye shall be slain before your enemies. They that hate you shall reign over you. Let me read this one more time. That's why I said, let's give a better breakdown, in my opinion, than Deuteronomy 28. Because it gets straight to the point and tells you what you don't want to hear. That's why I like to break down Leviticus, the 26th chapter, because it tells you, it gets straight to the point and it tells you what you don't want to hear. He said, man, I will cause terror and appoint over Salaki. He said, I will set my face against you, verse 17. And ye shall be slain before your enemies. We're going to be killed all before the people who are ruling over us. He said, and they that hate ye shall rule over you. And ye shall flee, and none shall pursue you. And we ain't going to get no help from nobody. Ain't no damn African, rowed no boat across here and came over and said, man, where my people at? I want to save my people. Ain't nobody came over and tried to help us. All y'all talking about the motherland, Africa, the motherland. Why the hell your mama ain't came over and helped us? Why your mama ain't helped us? They ain't did a damn thing for us. And in all actuality, they come over here and treat us just as bad as a damn white man do. They hate us. They hold their nose up to us and everything, man. While they hold their nose up, flies all around them, and they got the audacity to hate us. Like we done, but that's just the truth of the matter, man. And the Lord said, man, that those that hate us shall rule over you. They're going to reign over you. If we go back, let's say, for instance, all of us just pack our bags and be like, you know what, man, we're going back to Africa. We're going back to Africa. Man, you're going to go to Africa, and those people going to treat you like a second or third class citizen over there. They're not going to treat you like you one of them. You don't believe me? Ask people who done went back. They don't get treated like family. They don't go, join into a tribe over there and be like, man, my DNA test said I'm part of y'all tribe. They don't welcome you with open arms, you know what I'm saying? You going to get taxed over there. You coming over there, to use resources. You either going to be a resource or you trying to take resources. That's how they looking at you. They ain't looking at you like a brother, and all of these resources are yours also. You our brother who just been, over in America and all over the place. They don't look at you at that. You are American, man. You a nigga in their eyes. You ain't part of them. He said, and they that hate you shall rule over you. You ain't gonna go over there and be a part of the, the government. Be a part of their parliament and government and, have some kind of control over them. You a nigga. They need you to come over there and work. They need you to build up Africa the way that you built up America. That's what they looking at. Let me break this down a little more. He said in verse 23, I'm going to jump down to verse 23. He said, if you would not be reformed by me, by these things. So the Lord telling you, if I'm going to put all this stuff on you, right? I'm going to be against you. I'm going to have everybody rule over you, to hate you. They're going to hate you and they're going to rule over you. I'm going to put all these things in place, all these stumbling blocks in place because you refuse to follow my commandments, right? And he was like, okay, and let's just say, for instance, I do all of this, and you still be like, you curse God. You still cursing God. And be like, I still ain't finna follow you. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna follow you, even though I know you the one behind all of the pain that I'm going through. I ain't following you. Let me show you what the Lord said. He said, if you would not be reformed by me, by these things, but will walk contrary unto me. So he's saying you're going to walk, contrary to what he's telling you to do. You want to do your own thing. So he said, if you want to do your own thing, verse 24, then I will also walk contrary unto you and will punish you yet 7 times for your sins. He said, and I will bring a sword upon you that shall avenge the core of my covenant. So while you fighting against my covenant, I'm going to bring a sword upon you that's going to kill a whole lot of y'all. Since y'all want to fight against the covenant that y'all made with me. You fighting against the covenant by not doing the covenant. By not keeping his statutes, his judgments, his commandments, and hating them. That's you quarreling against the covenant. He said, and when ye gather together within your cities, I will send the pestilence among you, and you shall be delivered into the hand of your enemy. This is what the Most High God of Israel said. I'm gonna drop down to verse 28. He said, then I will walk contrary unto you also in fury, and I, even I, will chastise you 7 times for your sins. So he's going to punish us. You wondering why we on the bottom of every damn thing? Well, this is the Lord chastising us 7 times for our sins. You wonder how, we can do, the white man can do an unlimited amount of drugs. You know what I'm saying? And nothing ever happens to him. You know what I'm saying? But we do drugs. Ask Gangsta Boo. Gangsta Boo, old man, he does all the drugs in the world. You know what I'm saying? He was a drug dealer. Do all the drugs. And then Gangsta Boo, do drugs and she die. You do what I'm saying? Fentanyl ain't killed him though. You know what I'm saying? But it damn sure killed Gangsta Boo. He said, and you shall eat the flesh of your sons and the flesh of your daughter you shall eat. He said in verse 31, say, I will cut your cities waste, and I will bring sanctuaries unto desolation. So now he's talking about how, it's getting on into what the class is about. It's talking about the cities that we had, the Lord is going to make them desolate. It's going to be without occupation. It's going to be like a desert. Ain't nobody going to live there. All right? This is what the Lord is going to do. And we're going to show you how he's going to do it. And I will not smell the sweet savior of your sweet odors. And I will bring the land into desolation, and your enemies which dwell therein shall be astonished at it. So you got people over there in Israel, right? They have all kind of findings that they find. They find all kind of artifacts. They don't, they're not the people of their land. So when they find they go and excavate all these places, they find all this stuff, they be like, man, the Israelites were living, these were some righteous people. You know what I'm saying? This is what they're saying. Of course, they're not saying it out loud, But they just like, man, you know, these are some people who, you know, were righteous with God. And I just can't believe that they had all this beautiful land and, you know, would not serve their God. And now he kicked them out, and now we over there. We living in it. All right? He said, they astonished at how the Lord did us. People are, you know, the people go over to Israel and be astonished at how the Lord kicked the Israelites out of that land. And how they was living good. And, you know, the Lord kicked them out. He said, and I will scatter you among the heathen. Verse 33. He said, I will scatter you among the heathen and will draw out a sword after you. And your land shall be desolate and your city shall be waste. Then shall the land enjoy her Sabbath. So the Lord was like, only way that the Lord, that the land can enjoy the Sabbath is if you ain't there. Because as long as you there, you're going to be serving other gods. You're going to be, you know what I'm saying, you're going to be erecting, you know, all kind of statues and stuff inside there, groves and stuff to other gods. And the Lord is like, man, the only way that the land will be peaceful is if y'all not there. This is the land that I promised Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And the children of Israel, this is supposed to be your land. But, you know, I'm going to kick you out of this land because you don't deserve it. He said, then the land shall enjoy its Sabbath as long as it lies desolate. And ye be in your enemy's land. So he's like, as long as you there, as long as ain't nobody in the land of Israel, and you gone and then over in you know, your enemy's land, which is where we at right now, we're in our enemy's land. He said, the Lord said, man, then the land will be happy. You know, then the land can have some kind of increase because you're over there in your enemy's land. He said, even then shall the land rest and enjoy her Sabbath. As long as it lies desolate, it shall rest, because it did not rest in your Sabbath when you dwelt upon it. So the Lord is telling us why he kicked us out of the land of Egypt. The land of Israel. He kicked us out of the land of Israel because we were not keeping his Sabbath. We hated his law, his statutes, and his commandments. This is why we are not over in our land. And this is why our enemies occupy our land now. He said, and upon them that are left alive of you, I will send a faintness in hearts in the lands of their enemies, and the sound of shaking leaf shall chase them, and they shall flee as fleeing from a sword, and they shall fall when none pursue. So this is the Lord showing you how scary we're going to be once we get out the land of Egypt. And he's absolutely right. We are, a scary, shaky people. We are terrified of the white man, of our enemies. Any one of our enemies. We'll kill each other all day long. Rap about it, sing about it, do all kind of evil to one another, but we will not do these things to our enemies. The same thing that we do to one another, which, we the enemy of one another. But we damn sure ain't going to do nothing to the people who are actually doing something to us as a people. And we ain't going to do nothing to them. We scared of them, we like a shaking leaf, like the Lord said. And the Lord made it that way. The Lord made it that way, man. And we're supposed to be that way because we refuse to keep the commandments of God. It's a reason why we're saying, man, we got the answer. It's a reason why we're telling you we have the answer on what to do. It ain't marching. It ain't holding hands with the oppressor, with our enemies. It ain't that. That ain't how we get out of this oppression. That ain't how we get back in the good graces with the Most High. We get back in the good graces of the Most High by keeping his laws, statutes, and commandments. It ain't deeper than that, y'all. It ain't no deeper than that. We follow his laws, statutes, and commandments, we'll be back. Salaki. Let's go to Deuteronomy real quick. I'm going to go there. Deuteronomy. Go to Deuteronomy 28 and 64. Deuteronomy chapter 28, 64. He said, and the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, and from one end of the earth unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which thou knowest not, thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. So the Lord is telling us, so lucky, when we go to these lands, right, the whole point of him sending us to these lands, all right, is to punish us. All right. So we're being punished by, and this is what us Negroes don't understand. This is what we don't get, right? That we're in these lands to be punished, all right? And while we're in these lands, guess what we're going to do? We're going to serve the gods of the people of those lands where we at, right? All right? So now we're serving their gods, right? And guess what? We still on the bottom. We are in complete compliance to the nations and their gods. All right? We're doing exactly what they want us to do, and they still hate us. They still punish us. They still, all of the things that the Lord said was going to happen inside of these other lands are still happening, even though we're serving their God. And are in 100% compliance to their God and to their way of life. We are still at the bottom and still being punished over here. And that's the part that us Negroes don't understand. How they still hate us when we serve their gods, when we are docile, when we hate one another but we don't hate them. How is it that, they can still hate us after, all of the love that we show them? How can they still hate us? And this is hard for us to understand. And they see us getting beat in the streets, right? On TV, on camera. And brothers and sisters will cry. They'll be like, why do they hate us so much? And, we just don't understand that there'll never be a time where they will be able to love us. Because it's not, the Lord is making them hate us. This is the part that we don't understand. He made them to hate us. The problem is we don't understand how to get them to, how do we get back on top? That's the real question we should be asking. Instead of trying to love the people who are on top of us, how do we get on top of the people who hate us? That's the question we should be asking. Instead of, man, why they can't love us? You know what I'm saying? Why they can't love us? We do this, we do that, and they still hate us. Instead of us looking at it from a victim's point of view, or we got to look at it from a victor's point of view. Well, how is it that we get over them to be able for them to hate, for them to serve us instead of us serving them? Because clearly they're not going to love us by doing anything that we're doing right now. Clearly they're not going to love us. So in order for them to have any kind of respect for us, well, we got to be on top of them. Then they have respect. As long as we're on the bottom, they'll never respect us. So now we need to think about, how do we come together and get ourselves together so now we can just be in rulership. Because the Lord said if we come together and keep his commandments, we'll be in rulership. And he sent us to these captivities, brother. He sent us to, all of these lands. He made the diaspora for us to think about the things that we're doing. Go to Deuteronomy 30. He put us in this position so we will think about the thing. Remember he said, man, if you don't, He said, if you don't change your ways, if you don't change, if you're not reformed, that's what he said. If you're not reformed by the things that I'm doing to you, then I'm just going to keep doing more things to you. So he wants us to change our ways over here in captivity. He didn't send us over here, for us to just serve other gods and forget about serving him. He sent us over here so we can rethink what we're doing, man. Why is it that we on the bottom, and how do we get back on the top? Why is it that we serving these gods and those gods are not helping us at all? They just teaching us how to be a better servant to the people who hate us. How do we get back in the good graces and be back in rulership? And how do we start to love one another? We can't do it serving their gods. And that's why the Lord sent us in these captivities, to reform us, to change us, man. To us to look like, okay, these people hate us, man. We got to come together. It's like the more they hate us, the more separated we get. Instead of stopping and being like, you know what? Why don't we come together? Why don't we get that try? And see what we can accomplish by coming together. He said, Deuteronomy, what I say, Deuteronomy 30? So like, hold on. Deuteronomy 30. Deuteronomy 30 and 3. Let's go to Deuteronomy 30 and 3. So like it, let's go to verse 2. No, let's go to verse 1. He said, and it, Deuteronomy 30 and 1. All right, so this is still talking about the diaspora, right? They also turn our own people against. That's right. So this is talking about the diaspora. And I'm showing it to you in the scripture. It shall come to pass, when all these things are come upon thee, and the blessings and the curse, that I will set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, whether thou, the Lord thy God, has driven thee. So it's telling you how we got to these, all of these places where the Lord thy God is sending us, right? It's telling us how we got to these places. And it's telling us that, the Lord is the one who's driving us to these nations. And it says, and thou shalt return. So we got to come to mind of the things that's going on with us. So now we in these nations, we like, man, what is it that we can do to fix us as a people? Because, nothing's working. We done tried Christianity. We done tried Islam. We done tried being a Buddhist. You know what I'm saying? We done tried every damn thing. Atheists and everything. Ain't nothing working. So what is it that we need to do? So now we come to mind. It said, and we shall return unto the Lord thy God, and shall obey his voice, according to all that we commanded thee this day, and thou and thy children with all thine heart and all thy soul. Then the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity, and have compassion on thee, and will return and gather thee from all nations, whither the Lord thy God has scattered thee. So now, this is why we are on the streets telling us to return to the Lord thy God. He has woken up, his priests and prophets of the Lord, and we go out on the streets and we tell brothers and sisters, this is how we get back in the good graces of God, not by, not keeping the commandments, not by, the law is dead, not by just doing what we want to do, YOLO. We got to come back to the Most High. We got to come as a people back to the Most High. Not one or two of us. All of us got to come back. And this is how, the Most High will hear us and start to do things in our life. He said, if we return to the God and shall obey his voice, according to all that I command thee, and our children got to come too. He said, then the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity and have compassion from thee. You know why the Lord ain't got no compassion? What does it mean when the Lord say he has compassion on us? What does that mean? Go ahead, sister.
Like he have mercy on us, like he forgive us,
and
like he lenient on us.
Right. So, yeah, that's a good way to put it. So what would he, so when he has compassion on us, what, I think I take that. he's going to be more lenient on us. He's going to stop the things that he caused to happen.
Right.
All right. So now all the things that he caused to happen for us, going and serving our enemies and, having our enemies rule over us and all these things, he's going to change all of that. All right. And all these things are not going to happen anymore. He's going to gather us from those places where he sent us. He sent us over here to North America. He sent us over here to Central America, to the Caribbean, to South America. All throughout Africa. He sent us throughout Africa too. We went all different places to go serve our enemies. So he's going to start to gather all of us together, away from those places and bringing us back together. He said, and gather thee from all the nations whither the Lord thy God has scattered thee. If any of thine be driven out unto the uttermost parts of heaven, from thence will the Lord thy God gather thee, and from thence will he fetch thee. All right, and this is something that that we teach, man. That the reason why we're in the conditions we're in is by simply not following the Most High and serving other gods. All right, and while we're in these lands, we have to not serve the gods of the people of those lands, and that's why we can't get out of the funk that we in, because we are still serving the gods of the people of those lands. All right, give me Salaki. Let's go to Ezekiel 36. Ezekiel 36 and hold on, select. Ezekiel, start at verse 17. Ezekiel chapter 36, verse 17. He says, Son of man, when the house of Israel dwelt in their own land, they defiled it by their own way and by their doings. Their way was before me as an uncleanness of a removed woman. So it's like, man, they and you sisters can relate to this. It's like their way was like a woman on their period. They was just as unclean as a woman is on her period or on her cycle. All right. He said, wherefore I poured my fury upon them for the blood that they had shed upon the land, and for their idols wherein they have polluted it. So they were saying, man, I had to do it because of all the damn idols that they had in the land and of all the killings that they was doing to one another. Like, I had to do it, man. I had to kick them out of this land. I had to teach them a lesson. You know what I'm saying? So he didn't teach us a lesson. We have to learn the lesson. The lesson. What's the lesson to be learned? Salaki. What's the lesson to be learned? Go ahead, sis.
Is that we just keep just doing stuff against the Lord?
Yes.
He just keep on. So he just gonna keep on punishing us?
Yeah, right. So let me read again. He said, wherefore I pour my fury upon them for the blood that they have shed upon the land, and for the idols wherein they have polluted it. So what was the lesson that the reason why he kicked us out was because of that. So what was the lesson that we should have learned while we're out of the land? What, sister?
Not to serve their idols.
Right?
And to pollute the land when we in it.
By doing what?
By serving their idols and shedding blood.
Right, by killing one another. We being enemies to one another, and we serving their gods. This is why the Most High kicked us out of the land. Because we being enemies to one another, and we serving other gods. So now we done came over to America. What are we doing in America? We still doing the exact same thing that we was doing in Israel. We serving other gods, and we are being enemies to one another. This is the lesson that we should have learned. So now, when we go out on the streets, right, what's the message that we telling the people? The message that we telling the people is to come back to the Most High, serve Him, and to stop killing one another and stop hating one another. That's our message. And people will say that we preaching hate. And that is the message that the ISUPK teach right there. We only teach that. Everything that we teach is in the parameters of that. Of coming and serving the Most High God and stop killing one another and hating one another. Sleeping with another woman and man. That's what we teach. To have brotherhood and sisterhood amongst one another and to stop serving other gods. That's the doctrine. You know what I'm saying? That is the doctrine. And people will be like, why aren't you including everybody? Well, we didn't get kicked out of the land because we wasn't loving everybody. We got kicked out of the land, and we got we weren't in the good graces of the Lord because we stopped, loving everybody else. We wasn't in the good graces of the Lord because we stopped loving one another. So now, that's how we get back right, by loving one another. It ain't got nothing we don't give a damn about loving everybody else. That ain't what get us in trouble. What get us in trouble is not loving each other. That's what get us in trouble. And serving other gods. That's how we get in trouble as a people. Ain't got a damn thing to do with us not loving everybody else. Damn everybody else. We can love everybody else. We've been loving everybody else forever. And it ain't got us nowhere. It ain't got us nowhere. Only way we're going to get somewhere we start loving one another. Verse 19. He said, and I scattered them among the heathen, and they were dispersed. That's where the diaspora come from. Dispersed. Throughout the countries. According to their way, according to their doings, I judge them. So the Lord ain't just doing this for no reason. Hell, we ain't doing what He told us to do. We still serving other gods, and we still hating one another. So we still getting punished. And we're not going to be back into the land until we stop doing that. So if we're not teaching to love one another and to stop serving, white Jesus and, Muhammad and Allah or Buddha, we ain't teaching that, then we what the hell is we doing? Then we teaching against the Most High if we're not teaching that. We're not teaching to be against white Jesus, against Muhammad, against, Allah and Buddha and all these other gods. If we ain't teaching to be against that, then we teaching against the Most High. If we ain't teaching that we got to love one another, then we teaching against the Most High. Verse 20, and when they entered unto the heathen, whether they went, they profaned my holy name. So he's telling you right there, even though he dispersed us amongst the heathen, hell, we were still going amongst the heathen and still not following the commandment. He putting us through all this heartache and pain, and we still ain't going back. We still ain't figured it out yet. He said, when they say unto them, these are the people of the Lord, and are gone forth out of his hand, out of his land, Salaka. And this is what the heathen are saying. They come and, they see us and be like, man, they know we the children of Israel. They know damn well that them hook-nosed dudes over in Egypt, over in Israel, are not the true people of God. Everybody know that. They just got so much power, people scared to say it. except for us. But everybody know it. And we over here, you know, teaching the people, man, you know, we got to keep the commandments because we are the children of God and we under a covenant with him. And we got to keep his, you know, his laws, statutes, and commandments. I'm going to go into the New Testament. I'm going to go into the New Testament. Let's go to the book of John. Let's go to the book of John. Salaka. Let's go to the book of John. Chapter Salaka. Book of John, chapter 7.
This was my credit score 3 months.
I don't know if I'll keep doing it. Let's go to John 7 and 30. Let's start at 35. Chapter 7. I'm starting at verse 30. I'm starting at verse 31. Verse 31. John chapter 7, verse 31. He said, and many of the people, this is Christ, right? This is Christ. And many of the people believed on him and said, when Christ cometh, will he do more miracles than these which this man have done? So now they telling the people that this is not the real Christ, right? And they were like, well, okay, well, where the hell the real Christ at? And when he do come, is he going to do more miracles than this dude doing? Because he's done, you know, he done made the blind see. He done made the lame walk. He done, you know, he done made fish fall out the sky and fed 5,000. I mean, this man done made a dead man come out of the tomb. I mean, damn, if he ain't the Christ, who the hell is the Christ? And is he going to do more miracles than this dude? Then the Pharisees heard that the people were murmuring such things concerning him. And the Pharisees and the chief priests sent officers to take him. So now the Pharisees and them was hating, right? So they was hating because they were seeing how much power and how big of a following that Christ was having. And they were seeing that they was losing power over the people because they saying that this man ain't the Christ and that some other Christ is coming, but this man is the Christ and he's here, you know, doing all these miracles. And people are like, okay, well, if he ain't the Christ, I'm gonna have to see this other Christ. Because right now, this man right here sure look like the Christ. All right, and he making the Pharisees look like fools. He said, then said Yahweh Jesus unto them, yet a little while am I with you, and then I go unto him that sent me. So now Christ is telling them, I'm gonna be here for a little while, right? And then Salaki, then I'm gonna have to leave, y'all. I'm gonna go to the one who sent me. I'm going back to the Father. All right. And it said, ye shall seek me and shall not find me. And where I am, there ye cannot come. So Christ is telling you, you know, when I leave, I'm going back to the Father, you know, sit on the right hand of the Father, and you won't be able to come with me. You know, y'all going to be looking for me and everything, but I'm going to be gone. All right. And he said, then said the Jews among themselves. So now, when it's talking about the Jews, it's talking about the Pharisees. The Pharisees and Sadducees, those who are in rulership over the people. You know, those are the ones who wanted to kill Christ. The one that he made, you know, walk, didn't want to kill Christ. The one that he, you know, gave his sight to, he didn't want to kill Christ. So it's not talking about all the Jews, like people always try to say. This is talking about the ruling class that was over them, the ones who wanted to kill him because he was taking away power. He said, then they said among themselves, whither will he go? That we shall not find him. He said, will he go unto the dispersed among the Gentiles? What does among mean?
talking. I'm like in there with them.
Right. So it's not talking about the Gentiles. Yeah. It's talking about the people that are what?
Around him.
Around the Gentiles, that are among the Gentiles. All right? So he's like, where is he going to go? Among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles. So now it's telling you that it's going to go among the Gentiles and teach those same people. All right? He said, and what manner of saying is this? That ye seek me, that you shall not find me. So a lot of people read this. And Christ, you know, they already knew that Israelites were among the Gentiles. They were dispersed among the Gentiles. We just read all through the scriptures, you know, how the Most High dispersed us among the heathen. Who was the heathen? Who was the heathen in this context? Go ahead, sister.
The people that they live in amongst with.
Okay, so the Lord said that He's going to scatter us amongst the heathen, right?
Right.
So who, in this context, who is the heathen?
The other nations of people.
Which are who? In this context, stay right here. Stay right here. Read again. He said, then the Jews said amongst themselves, whither will he go? What we shall not find him? Will he go unto the dispersed among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles? So now the Lord said that he's going to scatter us among the heathen. So who are the heathen in this context right here? If anybody online know, you can answer too. Who are the heathen?
Would it be us, the people who not following what the Lord told us to do?
All right, listen to what I'm asking. He's going to scatter us. God said what? He's going to scatter us.
Yeah, we should be dispersed among Gentiles.
So who is the heathen? If God said he's going to send us among, all right, so God said he's going to send us among the Gentiles. I mean the heathen. Mm-hmm. That's what he said. We've been reading it all night. Right. He said he's going to send us among the heathen. Right. All right. So now it's telling us that Christ is going to go to the dispersed that are among the Gentiles. Mm-hmm. So who are the heathen in this context?
The other nations of people we living around.
Anybody, if you know online, you can post it online. For time's sake, I'll get to you. If he's sending us among the heathen, who are the heathen? The Gentiles are the heathen.
Oh.
Among the heathen and among the Gentiles. So what's the difference? What's the difference between what he just said? Among the Gentiles and among the heathen. What's the difference? The only difference is the name. He called one the heathen, he called one the Gentiles. But we still are the same people who are amongst those people. We are amongst the Gentiles and we are amongst the heathen. So those are the same people, all right, that the Lord dispersed us amongst, that the Lord scattered us amongst the heathen and the Gentiles. So the diaspora is always been in the scriptures. I'm going to read one more. Go to John 11. All right. So now, all right, so now right after John chapter 11, let's start at verse let's start at verse 45. All right, so John chapter 11, right? This will be my last one too. This is my last scripture. So John chapter 11, right? This is after Lazarus had been, called out of the tomb. He's been raised from the dead. He told him to come forth. And you know, Lazarus came forth, and you know, he was loosed from, you know, his wrappings that he had around him, right? He was loosed, all right? And he came out, and, you know, he's a new man now. He's back alive, and Christ brought him back alive. And Mary and, you know, his sisters and things seen him, and they were amazed, and, you know, they cried at the Lord and were astonished by the works that the Lord have done, that Christ had did, all right? But, of course, even though the Pharisees just seen a nigga come back alive, they still hating. You know what I'm saying? They were still hating because in their mind, it didn't have the it didn't have anything to do with Christ, you know, doing these miracles. It had everything to do with them losing power of the people. It's like when these pastors see us waking up these brothers and sisters, right? The Lord waking up the brothers and sisters. And the pastors see it. So, you know, they get nervous, man, because we're taking away their money. Because now people ain't going to church no more. You know what I'm saying? People seeing that they, you know, are some liars and, you know, have been robbing and deceiving the people. And, you know, people see that. They see when they mad as hell at the oppressor that the pastors come out. And then when the pastors come out, they start to, quiet up the people. And they know that they've been getting paid to come out here and do that. You know, since modern day, they've been doing it. And the people know that, man. So, you know, the people like, man, damn these pastors, man. Damn this church. This is all a game and a hoax, and they playing with people's lives, man. And this is real life, and people out here dying. And the Pharisees, they give a damn about people out there dying. They cared about money. They cared about prestige and having, you know, looked at like they were somebody. But Mary looked at them and seen that, man, and Mary had, you know, verse 45 said, and many of the Jews which came to Mary and had seen the things that Jesus done. They seen the things that Yahushua done. They seen him bring Lazarus out of that tomb, man. They seen it with their own eyes. He said, and believed on him. But some of them went their way to the Pharisee and told them the things that Yahushua had done. Then gathered the chief priests and the Pharisees a council. So now they done had a council against Christ. They're like, man, what we gonna do, man? This dude is, you know, raising the dead. He feeding them with fish. You know what I'm saying? He feeding the poor. You know what I'm saying? He's doing all of the things that we ain't doing. What the hell is we gonna? And we've been telling everybody that he ain't the Christ. Well, damn, what we gonna do, man? They know he the Christ, but they don't want to lose their power. And the Pharisees ain't no different than these pastors today. And a lot of these fake Israelite groups too. They don't want to lose power. And that's why they refuse to come together and refuse to, you know, be a true disciple. He said, but some of them went their ways, and the Pharisees told them things that Yahushua had done. And then gathered the chief priests and the Pharisees a council and said, what do we do? He said, what do we? For this man doeth many miracles. If we let him thus alone, all men will believe on him. And the Romans shall come and take away both our place and nation. So what was the Pharisees scared of? Go ahead, sis.
That they would take over.
Who was take over? What was the Pharisees scared of? The Pharisees were scared. It's right there. All right. So it said that if we let him thus alone, our men will believe on him. And the Romans shall come and take away both our place and our nation. So what was they scared of? They were scared that all people would start to believe in Christ.
Right.
And start to follow him. So if they followed him, who they not follow? Them. And that's what the issue is today. He said, and they're going to take away our place in our nation. So they were going to lose their prestige and their power, and they were going to lose their home also. Because the Romans going to be like, well, what the hell we need y'all to, be in rulership for? Y'all ain't going to, yeah, Christ, we need to put Christ in rulership. We need to let him rule. Because y'all ain't ruling nothing. Yeah, he doing it. Y'all done let the damn, the inmates run the asylum. And one of them named Caiaphas, right? So he was a chief priest, Caiaphas, being the high priest that same year. So he was the high priest. He was over all of them. He said unto them, ye know nothing at all, nor consider that it is expedient for us that one man should die for the people. He said that one man should die for the... This is the part that Christians skip over. Christians skip completely over this part right here. That Christ shall die for the people. He should die for Israel. Who is the people? Israel is the people. They knew this. And he was speaking out of with the Spirit. He said, thou shalt the people, and that a whole nation perish not. And this he spake not of himself, but being high priest that year. He prophesied that Yahushua, the one that you call Jesus, should die for that nation. That nation being the nation of Israel. Christ was going to die for that nation. All right? And not only for the people who are in Israel. Not only that, and this what the Christians like this. Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, he didn't just die for Israel. He didn't just die for Israel. Well, let's see what Caiaphas said. He said, and not only for that nation only, but also he should gather together in one the children of God that are scattered abroad. This is what Christ said. This is what Caiaphas said through the Holy Spirit. That Christ was going to die for that nation, and he's going to bring together all the children of Israel that are scattered abroad. The diaspora. He's going to bring them back. Bring them back together. You know how he's going to bring them back together? Because he's going to teach them, man, to keep the laws of God like he did. This is how we get back. Following Christ is how we get back. Christ kept the Passover. Well, guess what? You're going to have to keep the Passover. Which is coming up next week, by the way. Christ kept the Passover. Christ done the law, statutes, and commandments of God. Christ didn't eat pork. Christ didn't, all of the things that Christ done, well, guess what? You're going to have to do it too. That's how he gathers us together. As a nation. Not only for that nation, but also for the ones that are scattered abroad. I've been reading all day about the ones that are scattered abroad. God said he was going to scatter the nation of Israel. And there's so many people who grew up outside of the land of Israel who don't even know the homeland because the Most High scattered us out of that land. The diaspora was that. That was the Most High's doing. You over here in America, in Central America, South America, the Caribbean, because the Lord scattered us and gave us to our enemies. Well, guess what? Christ can bring us back. How can Christ bring us back? He was an example of how to live for the Most High. Well, guess what? Christ didn't give a damn about loving everybody. Christ loved the children of Israel. Only time he stepped foot out of Israel is when the Pharaoh was the Nero was trying to kill him. That's the only time he stepped foot up out of there. When he was a baby. Hell, they brought him back and he ain't never left Israel. So Christ wasn't out here just on a mountain giving these sermons and talking to the whole world. Christ was talking to the children of Israel, man. His whole time he had his so-called ministry, what you would call a ministry. Christ was talking to his people. Christ died for his people. The Pharisees knew that. Everybody know that except the ones who've been taught by the oppressor. Who've been taught by the ones who hate us. Who God said hate us. Not in the Quran. Who God said hate us. We was taught by them that Christ loved everybody. So we can love our oppressor. Christ didn't love everybody. Hell, Christ didn't talk to every damn body. Christ talked to the children of Israel. That's who he loved. And we, the ones who are scattered abroad, you, me, though we are the ones who've been scattered through the diaspora that I've been talking about all day inside of the scriptures. Well, guess what? Christ was the example of how to come back to the Lord. And we have to follow these laws as commandments because Christ kept the commandments. Christ kept, was in the covenant. And he kept the covenant. And we got to keep the covenant too. So this was a class about the diaspora, about how the children of Israel have been scattered abroad. You ever wondered how the hell we get over here and what do we do to get over here amongst people who hate us? Well, guess what? I just showed you. Just proved it to you right here in the scriptures. All right? So you can't say you don't know. You know. So now what? All right? And with that, y'all got any questions? Anybody got any questions? Nobody got any questions? All right. We the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge start out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under command of General Yohana. I'm also the Quam of the Nashville School. That's my time. Shalom.
ISUPK presents the 54th annual Feast of Unleavened Bread. Last year we did it big. This year is going to be way big. More brotherhood, more sisterhood, more UPK. On Sunday, April 2nd, 2023, we're going to be at 421 South Salisbury Street in Raleigh, North Carolina at the Sheraton Raleigh Hotel Ballroom. We're calling all blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians to come join us.
To your third eye peephole, line for line, this shit too easy. It's like a free throw. Mastered the game too early. This bitch.
Remember, admission to the Passover is $200 per adult. That's $200 per adult. For more information, call 919-697-8257. Call 919-697-8257.